ntments is a GP founded and run organisation that was created about 12 years ago. It started with one surgery with just 2,000 patients, and now we serve over 140,000 patients. ntments directors still have incredibly hands-on approach to both primary care and the running of each of their practices. And what that means is that we can see firsthand the inefficiencies that have developed in primary care over time. The issue with that scale means that we then see how much those inefficiencies matter when you replicate it across 26 sites. And so that really has given us a very, very clear platform both to want to innovate and to deliver innovation successfully over scale.
Document management was something that I realised when I was practicing as a GP. I was receiving about 50 to 60 letters on a daily basis, and I realised when I was looking at these letters that, am I the right person? Do I have to be reading this letter, or can someone else safely deal with this letter on my behalf? So that's what springboarded document handling as a process. The reception staff are empowered to open all the letters, take out all the duplicates, and then look at the remaining letters. What's involved is them making a judgment as to who that letter should be sent to. It could be a healthcare assistant, it might be a nurse, or finally it might be a doctor.
Clerical staff have always been used to receiving documents, but not necessarily having such a big role in what happens with that letter. So we needed to make sure that the process was really safe, so that the right letters were being seen by the right members of the team. So there was really in-depth work done with the admin staff in order that they would be properly able to assess the letters and not miss things that were important.
When we took over a new practice, I was quite surprised by how quickly we were able to introduce the process. Within 1 week, I was able to train the admin staff, talk to the clinicians, put all the processes in place, and the document handling was fully incorporated within that practice.
I don't think we could underestimate the amount of impact this has had. So I've gone from probably receiving 40 documents every day to receiving certainly less than 10 and often 5 or 6. So the amount of time that is spent reviewing those letters is dramatically reduced.
We decided we needed signposting because 60% of our patients who see GPs actually don't need to. They could have been seen by a different clinician, they could have been seen elsewhere, perhaps at a pharmacy, or they could have used a self-referral and managed their care themselves. So we were wanting to make sure that patients get the care that they need, but in the most appropriate way.
Now that I've got children, I find that the triage service is excellent for me to be able to speak to a doctor and get advice over the phone if it's something minor, and also if it's something major, to come in and they will give me an appointment around my schedule. So that's the best thing for me as a parent.
It's impacted other practice systems quite a lot. Mainly the availability of appointments. So because lots of patients are now being signposted, that frees up appointments for patients who actually do need to come in. Signposting initially works when a patient calls or comes in, so the first point of contact for signposting is reception, admin staff. So a patient would perhaps call for an appointment, they wouldn't necessarily know that the best course of action wouldn't be for them to see a GP, so they'd ask for an appointment. Reception would then advise the patient on the best thing to do for the condition that they're coming in for. When we began designing the process for signposting, myself and one of our doctors, we sat down, we had a look at the clinics, telephone calls, face-to-face consultations for the next week or so, and we had a look to see the different things that patients were booked in to come in and see a doctor that perhaps didn't need to, and then we freed that appointment up. We then created flowcharts so that the staff that were using the protocols could easily look and remind themselves of how the protocol worked. And it's really worked well. The admin staff have taken it up, they've really enjoyed it from day one really. They've really been empowered by the new services that they're able to offer patients that in the past they had no idea about. So any practices that are considering, I would definitely recommend it.
So there's a need for the buddy system because I just felt that a lot of the time when I was doing telephone clinics, I was spending time not doing clinical stuff, the stuff I'm trained to do. And I found that the tasks that were being generated as a result, again, I didn't need to do many of those tasks. And so I really felt that there was a much better way of working. so that doctors do what doctors are best at, and that time which is precious, is used appropriately. So the way the buddy system works in practical terms is me and my buddy will sit side by side. We'll both have EMIS systems open. She'll have her own, I'll have my own. We'll have a list of calls. The buddy I work with, who's Magda, will understand that my call is coming to a close and she'll call the next patient. So when I finish my call, the next patient is waiting, or they might wait 30 seconds or a minute while I might just finish typing up. If, for example, she's heard that I've said to the patient, you might need an x-ray, because she's sitting right next to me, she'll open up the patient's records, open up the x-ray form ready for me just to type in the information. She'll then save it and send it. So in that way, I just feel my day is much more efficient. I'm able to get through many more calls, and the patients get a much better service because we're turning around requests and queries pretty much on the same morning.
We are working very hard to make sure that patients can access healthcare in the same way that, say, they access their online banking or their gas or electricity. That's just the start of the journey, and we know that we need to carry on innovating in order to really improve access and deliver care that's required for the population that we now care for in general practice.
Innovation is critical, and us as GPs, we're the experts in what we do. And so it's so important that we're engaged in the process of innovation and change, because when we come up with ideas, we really understand what our patients need.
I would say to new practices, change can be very difficult, but the end point is it's definitely worth it.
If you can do something that doesn't impact negatively on patient care but helps to manage workload, then I think that's really important.